Hello to all my fellow brain retrainers. So I took a little break for the last 2 weeks. I was actually pretty sick. I had a pretty bad cold, and I am back. And I'm just really excited to see that we've had over 10,000 views on the videos so far. So I think, it was a big motivation for me to keep posting some videos and, hopefully helping anyone else who's struggling with overcoming chronic illness using brain retraining and figuring out kind of what tools work the best. So thank you for, watching my videos and kind of commenting and keeping me engaged with things that you're looking for, that's what's helping, what's not. So today's kind of a really rainy day. I don't know if you can really quite see it. You might be able to hear it, but I think it's really important for us to enjoy every season, every little bit of nature, to soak it up as much as we can, and to really use that idea of incremental training, of overcoming environmental triggers. I think a lot of that is exposing ourselves to a lot of different environments and situations. So obviously not jumping right into situations that we know are super triggering, but just for example, how many times do we say, oh, I'm gonna go sit out in a huge rainstorm, versus just getting really comfortable and getting stuck in habits and routines. So that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit today, was getting stuck in habits, getting stuck in routines that aren't healthy for us, that we developed as a part of maybe being sick for a while and chronic illness. And so one of those that I wanted to touch on is just our home environment. And if we kind of have created like a little bubble for ourselves as part of avoiding symptoms or triggers or flare-ups, and is that really helping us, or is that a detriment? So when we look at especially DNRS would call that the incremental training piece, where you're exposing yourself to small triggers time after time and kind of opening up your horizons a little bit to what you can tolerate. In therapy, as a chronic illness therapist, that's one of the things I specialize in with trauma as well. We would consider that, building up distress tolerance, or I've talked about before, systematic desensitization, which is creating a hierarchy of things that bother us, whether that's emotionally, physically, mentally, and working that up from the easiest or the least severe triggers up to the top of that pyramid would be kind of our big goals, our most severe triggers, and slowly exposing ourselves and working that over time. So for me, a big trigger for migraines for me used to be rain and low pressure systems. And there are still some times that I will get a random migraine and then it rains the next day, and how much of it is still that low pressure system and every storm is different? Yeah, definitely that could be true. But another thing I've really been focused on doing is, rather than dreading the rain or obsessively looking at the forecast and kind of negative forecasting, catastrophizing, predictive behaviors that lead to then these negative feedback loops about obsessing over weather, I've really started to say, I can sit out and look at the beauty of nature and look at the rain and kind of enjoy the sound of it and see that it's nourishing my plants and my garden, seeing all that wonderful stuff. I'll actually show you. It's so funny. Our horses right now are actually just standing in the rain, and it doesn't bother them, right? They're totally, I don't know if you can see them, but only one of them you can see from here, but they're just hanging out. Animals are seeing this as a free shower, and it's nourishing the grass for them, right? So how often in our human condition are we trained to seek comfort? And our homes are, for some of us, our homes are just that ultimate source of comfort. Or maybe not our home if you're living in an environment that's kind of toxic, but have you retreated then to a chair, a bed, a corner of the home, something that feels comforting but really is limiting? And are you getting so stuck in that mentality of, as long as I stay in bed in this position or stay in my recliner in this position, I don't get triggered, I feel better? But then it has this false sense of security, and then it's preventing so many things we could be challenging or doing. It's limiting movement. And with pain psychology, I don't always agree 1,000% with all of the pain psychologists. Some of the extremes that they go to, saying, with chronic pain, there is no longer acute phase, it's all just in your head. I don't really subscribe 100% to that belief, but I do agree that there is this part of pain or illness where we get so afraid of re-aggravating a symptom, an illness, an injury, a pain point, that it prevents us from doing the things that actually could be helping us. So an example I'll give too, just because I like to use my own examples and not act like I'm using everyone else and that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I have multiple like disc herniations. I've had a fracture in my spine before, and I've had periods of time for months where I've just been afraid to move. And you know, something will flare up that area and I get scared to move. And by the time I finally go back to my chiropractor and get imaging done, they're like, have you been walking? Have you been doing your yoga? Have you been doing your running? And I'm like, no, honestly, I fell into a loop. I fell into a negative feedback loop where I had a couple days where I was in a lot of pain. I fell off the bandwagon with my PT or my stretches or my, you know, workouts I usually do. Or conversely, when I used to live up in New England and there was a really bad winter, I'd be like, I'm not going to walk in this and I don't want to get on my treadmill. And even that would be enough to send me into a spiral. And then with pain psychology, we say now you're so afraid of making it worse or triggering something unexpected that you just stop trying altogether. So I think it's the same chronic illness, right? If you are used to having a period of a crash following trying something new with chronic fatigue syndrome or with fibromyalgia, are you then less likely to even try anymore because you become so afraid? And so it's black and white thinking, it's all or nothing thinking. So we can always use that knowledge that that's all limbic system, or most of it's limbic system. Some of it is, you know, learned experience. It's the hippocampus informing our limbic system that it thinks we're in danger because in the past we had a negative reaction to something like that. But in reality, we do not know how our physical body is going to react today to like this storm, for example. I'm fine. I don't have a migraine today, you know, thank God. I'm okay. And I'm choosing, therefore, to sit out here in the rain, see the beauty of it, and put a new memory in my hippocampus, right? Brain retraining doesn't always have to be imagining a visualization. Brain retraining can be, I'm sitting out here, I'm looking at the rain, I'm listening to it, I'm feeling that nice breeze, I'm seeing the animals enjoy it. I'm forming a new core memory right now just by being out here, and I don't have a headache and my body doesn't hurt. And I'm like, wow, see, this is possible. So that's another thing we can think about when we are, you know, bringing awareness just to the way that we experience the world. So it's the way we experience the world, right? And something else that we could even do here is we could use that same example with getting out of comfort zones in our home. And that could be really small. That could be, you know, usually I spend all day in my bed and I'm going to make an effort to become comfortable on my couch. And even if it's a really small example of like, I'm still going to watch TV all day because I'm exhausted or I'm in pain, okay, but you're in a different space. You're feeling more confident in your ability to move and do something different. And that's if we're like really experiencing an acute phase of illness, right? But if we feel like we might be at a place where we can try something new and different, maybe that looks like going for a drive and just seeing the world as it is. We don't have to get out and go on a hike. We don't have to push ourselves over the top. But are we so stuck in that comfort zone that we're afraid to try anything? And what are the really small ways we could challenge? If I'm super afraid to go to the grocery store and I have all my groceries delivered because I have POTS or I have chronic fatigue or I have pain and I'm afraid that if I go around the store, what if I pass out? What if my pain flares up? Well, instead of just getting the groceries delivered, could I start with asking a friend to drive me to go to the store to get the grocery pickup? And if I am approved by my doctor to drive on my own, obviously that would be the next goal. Or if I still need someone with me in case I have an episode, could I go to the store with a friend or family member with me to keep me safe, but I can still feel like I'm accomplishing something and challenging a fear? So now obviously, right, we have to think about some of these conditions that we're struggling with are not completely curable with brain retraining, but we don't want to become so boxed in and limited that our whole life just feels like all it is illness focused. So even with a fainting disorder, even with a neurological functioning disorder that leads to passing out or any disorder that could lead to be unsafe, you still might need a safety net, a person to come with you, a service animal. But I'm just thinking about ways to work on incremental training to say, if this trigger is manageable, if this trigger is something I might be able to overcome, I'm not going to know if I don't try. And so again, rain might seem like such an oversimplified trigger, but I'm sure any of you that have had issues with barometric pressure or with environmental triggers like the heat or the cold as well is a really good example for this. Give yourself days where you're actually feeling good and let yourself sit in the cold for a little bit, or like ice baths, right? I mean, like that's such an extreme example, but part of why ice baths are so, you know, addictive for people. It's an endorphin rush. You're building distress tolerance. You are forced to put yourself in a state of healthy stress response. And you have to use all of your skills at your disposal, deep breathing, mindfulness, staying present and centered, in order to go through that experience and then experience that endorphin rush that comes with it. So again, we're not going to those extremes like everyone's doing necessarily. I'm not saying go out there and do an ice bath, but there are benefits to putting yourself through incremental stressors to build endurance, to build tolerance. Think about weight training. You don't go to the gym and say, I'm going to start by doing bicep curls and I'm going to just start with 50s in each hand. Like, that wouldn't work. But you can start by just moving your body, and then you can pick up the 1-pound weights at home and sit on the couch and work on gaining strength back in your muscles. And eventually, incrementally, you're going to get to a point where you have more strength, right? So that's all kind of that we're talking about here, is just working on decreasing our fear of stressors and feeling empowered and feeling stronger, and literally training our brain and seeing that brain retraining the way you would train for a marathon, or train in the gym, or train to overcome any obstacle. So we're studying our triggers, we're studying our environment, we're figuring out what are the ones maybe I can get out of my comfort zone a little, instead of sitting inside when it's raining and looking out the window saying, oh, I really hope I don't get a migraine today. You know what, just to be safe, I'm gonna stay in bed all day. I'm gonna call off work. I'm gonna just put on a depressing TV show because this is my life. My life sucks, right? We see how it starts to catastrophize. We go down that negative spiral really quickly. And instead you could say, wow, it is raining, but that's weird. I didn't get a migraine today. That's actually kind of cool. Maybe that means I'm turning a big turning point in my recovery, and I'm gonna do some practice rounds and some positive affirmations, and I'm gonna sit outside and enjoy it. How often have I enjoyed the rain for what it is and actually got to look at it and sense it and use this as a healing visualization? So I hope that was helpful. I'm sorry that I was gone for so long. I had to take that break. And again, I know I had talked before, like, it's okay to have hurdles in recovery. It's okay if you get sick and it takes a little bit longer to feel better because maybe you have other health challenges that do that. It doesn't have to set you back. It's just a matter of, I have to listen to my body. I have to give myself some rest and some grace and allow for that healing to occur. So it's whatever you have to do, right? I opened up my herbal medicine cabinet and just found whatever I could find. Some of those herbs I haven't had to take in a really long time, because doing brain retraining, I feel like I don't even get sick as much anymore. But I did what I did. I rested, I took off work, and I'm back. So again, incrementally working on those stressors and finding what works. So anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Enjoy the weather wherever you are, whatever kind of weather it is. I challenge you to get out and just experience it and then see how you feel. I'll talk to you guys soon.